All right, it is 7 o'clock, so if everybody wants to take their seat, we can get started here. The council agenda, Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, council chambers. I need the clerk to call.
Councilman Munger.
Here.
Councilman McCoy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Here.
Councilman Franke.
Present.
Mayor Lauderman.
Here.
Councilman Phillips.
Here.
And Councilman Welch.
Here.
I'll call this meeting to order. There being a quorum present. Meeting to order, we need an invitation. Councilman Dobson.
God of wisdom, we seek your help today. Come and let wisdom fall upon us, O Lord, as we gather for this meeting. Give us clarity so that we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda, reveal problem areas, and show us the best solution that will apply. Point our eyes to every positive outcome since our last meeting, and let these favorable results and developments encourage every heart in this room. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Have Councilman Phillips.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need an approval of the agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may interrupt, I'd like to request to remove the memo item that I placed on the agenda and for a later date.
Okay, we can do that. We need to have a motion. I just need a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Now I need approval of amended.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need approval of the minutes for the regular scheduled council meeting from November 21st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Need approval of payroll and claims, second half, November 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Public comments would normally be at this time. Nobody signed up, so we won't have any public comments. Bob Yap, Andrew Wickstrom, citizens, derelict houses in downtown neighborhoods. Before you guys get started, I have to say it's nice to see two different sides working together on something. It's impressive. Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, we're neighborhood buddies, and politics don't to come into it ever.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's the way it should
Glad to
be.
hear
What
that.
do you mean ever? Thank you, Mayor Louderman and Council, for allowing us to make this presentation tonight.
So I'm Andrew Wickstrom. I moved to Hannibal 8 years ago, and since moving here, I realized that this is the best place for me. It's been a place where I could grow. It's been real easy to work with the city. The city has reasonable ordinances that allow me to do what I do, which is rehabbing properties, and there's no unnecessary restrictions and covenants that get in the way of success. With the tourism, since I moved here in the past 8 years, I've seen Hannibal grow a lot. It's just been exponential growth, and I really appreciate that, and I'm enjoying the fruits of that in this world that I moved into.
Now, if we could get you, when you come to the Java Jive, to like wash your hands after you've been working on this house. Tonight, we're here to celebrate the positive work that's been done in the downtown and the central neighborhoods, as well as addressing a challenge that is slowing that process down. The list of derelict properties that you'll see later on make up a small portion of the properties that are vacant, deteriorating, or so derelict they cannot be occupied. Most are worthy of rehab, some need to be demolished, and most are being demolished by neglect. It seems to us, that's Andrew and Bob, that there are a variety of reasons this happens. Well-meaning people buy a property, and they realize they've gotten in above their heads. That happens. Lack of some code enforcements here and there. Slumlords that milk properties and then just abandon them. We see that around the neighborhoods, and it's not unusual all over the country, but we see it here as well. And then blatant speculation. Speculators who let these properties rot for years often embrace the idea that others will rehab around them, doing the right thing, and increase the value of their property as a result. We're a free market society, and we have strong belief in property rights here in Hannibal and in Missouri. At this point, the only property owners whose rights are being violated are the owners who maintain, rehab their properties. The abandoned and unoccupied derelict and rotting structures are taking the property rights away from responsible owners. These derelict property owners are ruining the quiet enjoyment of law-abiding, responsible property owners and hurting our city. The purpose of providing the secondary list is to begin a conversation about what, as a community, we can do to stop this blight and reward responsible property owners instead of continuously punishing them with inaction. We are in no way including owner-occupied properties in this discussion of blight. We are not going to be discussing that. That is not a part of our agenda here. Here in America's hometown and throughout Missouri, we believe in the state motto, show me. And the following property owners have done just that. So if you pay attention to this, we estimate well over $20 million has been invested over the last 20 years in the downtown and the central neighborhoods of Hannibal. These were all rehabbed without taxpayer money. It's amazing all the investment that's been done downtown and all over. We love that. So let's take a look. This is our downtown Main Street. It's one of the best in the country. When I go downtown to eat my lunch in the morning and sit down with all the old geezers at the liar's table, I'm in awe every time I walk down there.
One note about this area, when I first moved to Hannibal 8 years ago, you could pick up one of these buildings for $20,000, $30,000 very easily. There was a number of them available. Since they've been rehabbed, since the neighbors and the neighborhood all decided to bring these up, you can't touch one now for under $300,000.
Yeah, it's getting it. Now, the goal is not to gentrify the neighborhoods or the downtown. The goal is to embrace the small houses, the medium-sized houses, the big houses, and rehab as much as we possibly can, understanding that working families also can enjoy the beauty of some of these older houses. I think that's really important. But the downtown is just amazing to me. Look at the color. You know, at first, being a historic preservationist, I'm looking at this going, well, those aren't historic. My wife's like, shut up, Bob. You know, she says that a lot, but that's all right. But anyway, I love it, and the awnings and all that. It's just fantastic. Huge investment in our community. This is a building that I drive by every day. It had these stupid dog sheds on it. It used to be the Courier Post. And a local guy, why don't you talk about that just for a second?
Yeah, Brad Walden has done a great part, so I just want to compliment
He's back row.
Raise your hand, Brandon. Yep, we should applaud him.
Yeah.
He's taken a lot of commercial properties throughout Hannibal and really gone through the roof with these things. He and Mr. Boland, I think should also be celebrated. Brought a lot of these commercial properties.
Yeah.
You know, for them, commercial properties is their jive, and then Bob and I tend to focus on the residential.
There's a lot, and I said this at Rotary today, risk is a big part of this. We're all willing to step up and take a risk, and that's a huge deal. We're not getting a lot of government money, if any. Maybe a few of them have gotten tax credits, but not too many of us have. We've just gone ahead with what we're doing. This is great. So this was done by
Hong and Bob
Thank you.
Kilmer were the original developers who grabbed hold of the Rialto and made it what it ended up being. They got a really good start on it, and I think Mr. Boland continued with that project.
Yeah, so another great example on Broadway. Here's another great example. This is the O'Sheltry family, and they've completely repointed all the brick on this and done all the windows. It's a beautiful building on Broadway right next to the park. And then here's some more buildings. And Todd Rourke did a great job on that Muddy River Barbecue building, and we've got others along there. We've got Arif, who had just sold Labina, and we've got Joe and Wes, who have done great work, a whole bunch of people. I'm going to miss people's names, I know, but you all know what we're talking about. Just this old depot. The O'Sheltry family bought this and used it as an event center. This is on the very south end of Main Street. Of course, we have O'Donnell Funeral Home. Look at that beautiful building and how much they care and take care of it in our community. This is one of my favorites right here. This is Charlie's place, and it is the Quarry House. An outstanding save in every way that you can think of. This is the kind of stuff we love. These are the neighbors that live across the street from me, and they just meticulously take care of this house. She was born here. He was from Louisville. They lived in Kansas City. He retired from law. They came back, and they've just been great neighbors, and they really take care of the place. This is another one. This is where Maple and Bird joined. This house has been rehabbed back. It's a single-family home now. The newest buyers are living in it. It's not an Airbnb. It's an actual home, and I love that.
And much of what you're seeing has happened in the last 8 years.
Well, it's 20 years total, but
Yeah,
a
it's just
lot of it.
beautiful. Yep.
And this is another shot of Maple going up the hill from that house. And you've got three houses that are in really great shape. And they always weren't. They've been rehabbed, and that's the good news. This is one of my favorites. This is on the corner of 7th and Hill. A couple from Colorado bought it and just did an outstanding rehab on it. They bought it, they got on it right away and got it rehabbed, and that's wonderful. Next door, also another one that they did around the corner from them. And they're keeping all the character-defining features, which is what makes these houses sort of cool. And this is one of my favorites. This is in my neighborhood. This was built about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was done as an infill house. It's brand new. So the last infill house done in the central neighborhoods was an international style house right next door to Labina. You've all seen it. It's got like a band going around it and a band of windows. That's called an international style. That's about the last one. And then this one was built, and what a fabulous job he did on that. And then my friends, the Eddy brothers, bought a lot, and this was what they built. Now, talk about massing and detailing, picking it up. It doesn't look like the mother alien ship has landed on that corner. It looks like that's supposed to be there, and that's really important. Now, this is one that we're doing. This is an infill house that we're building on the corner of 6th and Bird. It's coming along just fine. Hope to have it done sometime in early summer. This is another house. Jeff and Anna Thomas, good friends of ours, bought this house some years ago, rehabbed it, a nice young couple live in it now, and they're redoing all the skirting around the bottom of it. So work is always going on. People are maintaining constantly. This is Andrew's little complex up on the corner of Hill and 6th. I have a little laryngitis, sorry about that. And Andrew's done a great job rehabbing both these properties, getting good tenants in them. It's the kind of work that we love to see. These are two great houses. One, Gordon Harrison just finished, and I think he's got an offer on it, so I think he might have sold it. and that's the one on the left. And then the one on the right is Greg Addison. And talk about pure speculation. He bought that house. It was a mess. He put in copper, built in gutters, rebuilt the porch, and did all that really nice stuff. And these are just up the street from my place. It's beautiful stuff. That's our place. You've all seen that. That's at 6th and Bird. A huge investment. It was a slum apartment building when we bought it with drug dealers and cockroaches in it. And now it's just cockroaches and Bob. Oh, you must be obeyed. This is attached to the back of our house. It was a rooming house, flop house. It was one of the worst decimated properties I've ever done. But we got a rehab pretty quickly. It took us a couple of years to get it done. It took us 4 years to get the big house done, continuously working on it. It's a lot of work. And then Andrew just bought this house next door, which is a great little house, and it's the last house on the block. So I feel more secure in what's going on, which is good. This is Nora Creason and her husband Don. They took those houses. We did a great unveiling on the Queen Anne, and took all the old slate siding off as a neighborhood group and got it back down to the original. And we were all so surprised at all the beautiful shingle work underneath. And they've just done a fabulous job. Here's that international house. And then you've got 2 other houses that are rehab beyond that. You've got Bill and Pat, and then you've got the Duloc Inn right next to it. Great. And this is Joe and Wes. Joe and Wes have just got done doing all this window work and redoing all the trim on the outside of this wonderful house. This is one of the oldest houses in Hannibal. Here's another house from a transplant. This couple came here about a year ago from Colorado, bought this house. It was a mess. They completely rehabbed it. They've got it up and running as an Airbnb now, and they did a wonderful job. This is a house that my high school students did back in the mid-teens, about 2014. It was just a decimated house. They built the addition on the back. They restored the house, cedar shingle roof on it, sold it to a teacher. These are the kinds of things we love. And this is my favorite. This house, nobody thought could be saved except 2 nerds, Jeff Thomas and Bob Yap. And Jeff bought it, finally figured out a way to get it, and within a week he had the roof completely repaired and shingled, ready to go. That's the responsible rehab. This is another one that Doug, our former finance manager here at the city, he and his wife restored this. This is on Center Street. And here's another one on Center Street that's just a drop-dead house. I just love this house. A lot of money was put into this. And then here we have Casey Welch and Stephen Linares and Katie and Casey. And they've rehabbed those houses there on Center. Look really nice, done a really good job, worked hard on them, did a lot of work themselves. And that's sort of the way it goes. Now this is over on the other side of Broadway. This is across from the library. And I love this house. It was built as a duplex. And the couple that own it now have put in those beautiful staircase railings and have taken really good care of it. Just to the west of there are a couple of artists that bought these 2 houses and got them all rehabbed, and they've done a nice job. They're worker houses. They have the same value as the big robber baron banker houses.
And what's happening is momentum is spreading across Broadway now. And that's something I didn't expect to see so early. When I moved here, I thought, south of Broadway, don't go there. No. But now, go there. There's a lot of good stuff happening.
And there's a lot of successes happening on the south side as well. There were, 15 or 20 houses that went through a program that was around for a while, and I think it's still on the books. And some of those houses got rehabbed as well. And this is Gordon Harrison's little house. He just finished the rehab on it. It's an Airbnb. And he did a fabulous job. And if you want to see the inside of it, you can go on Airbnb. So we're really excited about all this great stuff. Now, this is a very small sample of derelict and abandoned and dangerous and extremely substandard structures in the downtown and central neighborhoods. We estimate that demolition by neglect has cost taxpayers between $3 and $5 million over the last 20 years just for demolition, and I'm probably low, but being in the business as long as I've been, you can kind of figure that out. If you've got $150,000 to $250,000 a year in a demo fund, you start to calculate it out. That's a lot of taxpayer dollars that we could be some of that. So this is a property on Broadway that's very endangered, 409 Broadway, roof's leaking, windows are a mess. Obviously, the storefronts are not in good shape.
On the back side of that building, the windows are just open.
Right. Just floppy.
Birds flying in.
So that's a really important project. And it's right across the street from the park, and it's right next door to the Elks Club. Here's another property on South Main. It just astonishing to me that it's been able to stay like this for as long as it has without collapsing. The brick is actually starting to pull away on the front. Real issues here. This is a school that's been abandoned a long time. It's been purchased, and I think that some work's going to be done on it. I just know that it's been abandoned. This is the federal building. We all know the federal building. We can't just not put in stuff that the city owns. And this is one that I'm hoping that if we can put together some sort of a committee, we can work together to figure out an RFP, request for proposals to developers to do something with. And the same thing with St. Elizabeth. This is most of the old portion of St. Elizabeth. I've been in it top to bottom when it was being put on the National Register. It is killer. It is so killer inside. So we got to work together as a community to try to find a way to save that if we can, because demolishing it is about $5 to $6 million in my estimate. Does that sound about right?
If we're lucky, it's
If we're
just
lucky,
that much.
yeah. So it's really expensive. So when I get to be 80, I'd love to live in that senior housing. That'd be fun. This is a church. This church is just getting worse and worse by the day. Don't know exactly. We're not here to give answers. We don't have answers to everything. We're just here to present what we see in the neighborhood that's impeding our ability to keep the ball rolling. And this church is just a mess, and something's going to need.
And the first step in solving a problem is identifying the problem. So that's essentially what we're doing this evening, is identifying the issue.
Right. This is the house on North 4th Street that's had the scaffolding on it since I moved here in 2008. I don't understand what's going on with it, but it's not occupied now, and it's a mess. There's another house across the street from it that has serious structural brick issues to 10 Forest North. And so this is, and we may have to figure out some incentives. Some people may, be well-meaning, like I said, and need some help. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that looks. I don't want to get into the taxpayers' pockets for any of this if we can avoid it. What we need to be doing is finding solutions to how to address these issues, working with people. And oftentimes it might be, look, give us a plan, and give us a timeline. It's like Stefan came out with a plan the other day, and I thought it was great. He said a year to 2 years on a couple of properties that he owns. This is one of them. This is at 216 North 4th. It could be a really cool house. And it was really gratifying to see that he's got a little thing going on down there in that corner. What you call it, the corner or what?
You can ask Matt Plahuta. What's it called, Matt? Yes, sir. Matt owns the third corner on that site.
Okay. That's cool. Then this one is up close to where the high school kids restored their houses. It's been like this since I moved here. And this is the one next door to it. Same thing. Both the same. Something's got to be done. You can't just let this stuff sit here. It just hurt. And landlords have a hard time getting people, when they see that kind of blight, to want to live in their wonderfully rehabbed units. This is a house that's the first house coming up into the neighborhoods from downtown. It's a beautiful house. That's a Japanese style pagoda type of a roof on that. So the roof is leaking. It's actively pouring water into the house. The siding is rotting. There's just all kinds of issues with
And as I stand in my yard on 6th and Hill, it's very, very common. It's just one after the other. Tourists, people coming to Hannibal, end up on 6th Street. Yeah, they're walking up through past these houses, and I'm not sure if that's a good representation of what we want to portray.
Well, we own a bed and breakfast, as you know, and our guests come in constantly and are asking what is going on with the abandoned houses. You guys are all doing such good work of it. It's spotty, and we're not addressing, it doesn't seem like anybody's addressing that issue, so that's sort of, this is a really great house. I think this is one of the oldest houses. Stefan put a new roof on it, so he's got some stuff going on there, which is good. And then this is another one up the street on Bird that has languished for quite some time. It's changed hands here recently, so hopefully some more stuff. I see that the front of it got painted a little bit, so these are all positive signs, in my opinion. This is a house right across from Rockcliffe. This is, in fact, it's real close to where James lives, and it's a mess. And the porch fell off of it, and they've got, yard sale stuff all over it. It's a mess.
And to the left of that, somebody invested a lot of money.
James.
Is that you? That's beautiful, the blue house.
Oh, that's fine.
It's beautiful. Invested a lot of money. It's a shame that this is just a couple
Right.
doors down to the right. I'm sure that doesn't.
This one is at 1015 Bird, and it's also abandoned. It's got a bad roof. The eaves are starting to cave in. Porch is starting to collapse on the side. Siding is rotting, and it's vacant. This is 323 North Street, or North 6th Street, and it's typical of this particular, this is Bland Properties that owns that. And it is a mess, and most of their properties are a mess, to be frank with you. I just wanted to show one that's tenant issues, just terrible. This is on the corner of 7th and Bird. This is a great house, but it has also rotting porches on the side. It's got a leaking roof. It's sat there since I got to town. Nothing has been done to it. And it's just a shame because so many people are starting to do things on 7th, but is somebody sitting on that house so they can profit off the good work of responsible owners? Or what? I'm not against speculation necessarily, but I am against speculation that takes advantage of the people that are actually doing the thing. There's another abandoned house on North 7th. You can see North 7th has some issues going on. Another one on North 7th, many of those are owned by the same person. This is at 919 Center Street. This is an abandoned house, and it's a mess. Here's another one. This one has a dangerous porch, and I'm not sure if somebody's not living in it, but that porch is, near collapse, and it's being held up by 2x4s. You see this kind of thing. This one is on Lion Street. This is the most structurally unsound property in Hannibal. It is leaning back almost 8 inches from the foundation to the back away from the foundation. And it's a mess. It's wide open. I watch residents walking out of it. I was taking a picture of it. It's not secure. That's a problem. This is the Jewish retailer's house is what we call it in the neighborhood. It had a Star of David in the window in the attic. Some guy from Texas owns it. He's come back once in a while. I took the porch off, cleaned up the yard a little bit, so there's some progress, not much. But we need to get people off a dime and start working on these properties because it just, the longer they languish, the worse they get, the more it costs to rehab them, and the harder it is on the people that are doing the good work.
So after coming here 8 years ago, as I told you, I purchased some cheap properties. I was able to rehab them. I was able to thrive in that world. I'm here to tell you, you can't do that very much anymore. And Hannibal is coming up. I mean, we're rising like a phoenix, but we're kind of hitting a stopping point. I don't think it's going to be very easy for somebody to come in now and do what I did with this situation. These buildings need to continue the momentum that we already have.
Stress a couple of quick things and then we'll be out of here, take your questions. We're not talking about properties that people live in. It's just not on the table. We're talking about at this point abandoned, derelict properties that need to get off the dime. And I think that's really what we're, and we're not here to come to say that we have all the solutions because we don't. What we need is some sort of a committee of folks. Andrew and I would love to be on that committee and bring in some other key people to actually look at the data, go through the neighborhoods and see exactly what's going on. This is just a sampling, and then work and see if there's a way to work it. It may be that we sit down with property owners and say, give us a plan, here's an incentive. I don't know. That's something for the committee to figure out, and I'll leave it there and open it up for questions.
So, you bring up a point of when I was running, one of the things I brought up was our revitalization program on the south side when I was the 4th Ward councilman over there. And then I would like to kickstart that throughout the entire city, because I think as a program, it can work everywhere in every neighborhood of the city. So, it's funny that you mention a committee, because I'd kind of like to task you two of putting that together.
How do you see that happening?
What I'd like is, personally, me, maybe some of the other council members have other ideas that they'd like to see on it, but a group of like-minded people that have, first of all, have some ability to look at these houses the way they should be looked at. So you need to have a little bit of engineering, a little bit of construction, a little bit of finance in your blood to be able to look at them to see what can be done and what cannot be done. If a house is savable, then we need to figure out a way to help save it. If it's not savable, then it needs to be taken down. I've said for years, just because a building is old does not make it historic. Sometimes it's just old, and sometimes it just can't be saved.
Well, I'm old,
And
and I'm wrinkly, so don't take me out.
Well, you two together have given me hope that you can be saved. So I would like to see that. I would like to see you put a group of people together that could form a committee that could look at these things, much like the council tasked the committee on the stormwater. Is they task a group of people, not politicians, not council members, not board members, but people, to go out and solve a problem. And I think that you guys could do well doing that for us.
I think what we would need from you is marching orders and criteria and go, no go, and think.
So I would like to
Because,
put that
it'd be
together and give
very
that
nice,
to you guys.
to have guidelines to follow.
Sure. I'd like to talk to
We'd love to do that.
our council and see what they come up with. And
One of the things that's going to be really important on this committee is that everyone has to take a pledge when they get on it that they will not be involved in buying any of the properties involved in what we're looking
I
at.
agree with that.
We can't have any conflicts of interest.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Are you seeing this proposed committee as a place to act as give guidance on a volunteer basis, or are you proposing to go out and seek these derelict properties and then work from that angle, or do you see yourself as being open for people to come to you?
Well, I think with both. I think the committee, and that'll be up to the committee members once we put it together, how we want to craft it. But it seems to me that it's incumbent upon us to identify the really troubled properties and figure out a way to have a conversation with the owners. And, there's quiet title. That's one of the ordinances we have. We have some other things that we could look at, existing ordinances. We don't want to overtax the building code. Those poor guys are working their hearts out. There's only 2 of them and 1 staff person helping them. And I don't want to get into the taxpayer's pocket any more than we have to. But I think this committee would be a place for advice for people that own properties like that, and some guidance from some real pros, and also to actually identify them and maybe reach out to some of those people and say, hey, come talk to us and see what we can do.
And realizing that there's no 2 properties, even owned by the same owner, if he has multiple properties, that are identical to one another regarding the solution for that property.
I've talked to...
And it's going to be up to us, guided by you folks, help us, to figure out and sift through those ashes and figure out which one is going to have the appropriate solution.
There's nothing gotcha about this, because I have had conversations with almost everyone on this list about their properties over the last 15 years that we've been here. And some of them haven't owned them that long or what have you, but I've had conversations with just about everybody. How important it is not to be that property neighbor.
Mayor, may I? Sure. Bob, several years ago, and it's probably been more than what I realized, you had a group that was meeting regularly at your house, the Central Neighborhood Park District.
Yeah, we still have the organization.
Okay. And you guys, when I was attending those meetings, you were in the process of mapping out the neighborhood. Did that get completed?
So Carl Legal was in charge of that, and he died.
Okay.
And all the computer files died.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we have to start from scratch.
Okay.
But I did have another committee of landlords in town. And Hannibal has one of the best rental inspection ordinances I've ever seen in the country. It's got tenant responsibility, it's basic health and safety. And we ramped that up and got inspections going, but staff is short. And so it's really hard. And we're battling the bad landlords all the time and working with the good ones, but it's a struggle. So.
Thank you.
Some of those files still, because Carl wasn't in charge of all of it. He kind of pieced it out, so
Laura Crookshank, he's the head of our neighborhood.
I'll give you what I've got. Okay.
By the way, that program was called Project Southside. And that was, I'm not sure if it's still in play, but it was actually a very good program.
Yeah. I mean, building permits were reduced or free.
Project Southside.
Worked with people. The quiet title thing worked great. Quiet title, for those in the audience that don't know what that means, you got a really problem property and you don't know what to do with it. You can sign it over to the city, and then the city can find somebody that will actually rehab it. And that can work sometimes too.
I'm not, I've never been in favor of the city being a property owner other than what's city property, but in that case, when we were doing that, it worked very well.
Yeah, it can work.
And we've proven it time and again. When the city bought the old Murphy Motors building, we had it for what, like maybe a month before it was, before we flipped it.
Well, yeah, so
And-
Clark Crookshank and I went down to City Hall and talked to Jeff and said, what are you going to do, tear it down for buses? I said, whoa, let us talk to a few people. And then Martin stepped up.
Yep.
And that's,
And it's turned out to be,
even in new hands. And I always knew that, when Bill and his brother did all that work and spent all that money, and I'm sorry it didn't work out for them, but they were able to get somebody else in there, that the build out was going to be perpetuity.
Yep. So let me get a feel for what the council would like to do with that committee, and then I'll turn it over to you guys to set that up.
Sounds good.
How's that?
Yep. Any more questions?
Anybody have any more questions?
Listen, Hannibal's one of the best cities in America. We got great things going on. We just need to work together and keep the ball rolling, because we're kind of butting up against it right now. So.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we have Lisa Peck, City Manager, recommendation for appointments. These are all for first readings, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Good evening. So I have several things before you this evening. I have a recommendation of appointment for Steve Farrell for Park Board for a term to expire July of 2024. And then I have Cole Painter, appointment for a term to expire June of 2027 for Planning and Zoning. Hunter Haynes, Board of Adjustment, appointment for a term to expire May of 2028. Then the next item that I have before you is American Cruise Lines would like to renew their contract. It's up for renewal actually next November. They would like to renew it early. So they would like to exercise the first option for renewal for the lease agreement. And that's a resolution number 2490-23 to follow. And then the next item that I have is renewal agreement with OpenGov software, which is the software that's used by the building inspector's office. Previous to having this software, the building inspector's office kept paper records. This is much more efficient, and we track the rental inspections in it too. So it's just the annual renewal for that.
You want to go ahead and, I need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go.
Okay, and the final item that I have is the authorization to apply for a SEMA brick grant. So this grant application would be to apply for an on-site treatment plant at the former landfill leachate ponds. Right now, we're under a consent decree, so if those leachate ponds from the landfill, which was closed in the 80s, overtop, then there's an automatic fine from DNR and then a daily fine. And just for perspective, Streets and Park Department had been hauling the water to the treatment plant in order to avoid overtopping. Last year, it was 2 million gallons of water that was hauled over the year, and that is 2,000 gallons at a time. So that's a lot of staff time and equipment that could be used for the actual positions. So if we're able to get this grant for this project, it's a 75%,
75-25.
yes, 25% match. And we are a little bit under the gun. We just received the invitation to apply for the next round. We'd started this process about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, last Monday, and they want everything by January 5th.
We'll have a resolution to follow on that. Under myself, Councilman Phillips, Councilman Franke, voting rotation for the council. Basically, what they'd like to see is the mayor is the last vote on every vote. And as he's the mayor, it's a tie-breaking vote anyway. I don't have a problem with that. It can be, we can make it an ordinance, resolution. We can do it that way, or we can just instruct the city clerk to do that every time. It's kind of your pleasure.
Mayor, I don't believe that the counselor needs any more work. I think it would be advantageous just to direct the city clerk to modify the order of voting if the council complies.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why it's up here. It can be, can be either way. If we make it an ordinance, it's something that's on the books all the time, or we can just say this is the way that it works. It's kind of up to you guys.
Like we talked earlier, the council could completely change in April, and
True.
the new council may have a different idea about that. So that makes it, easier to change on the fly and less work for the city attorney.
Well, James has a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, last I checked tonight is December 5th, which puts new council potentially 5 months away. I mean, and I don't really particularly see the point in stopping city business between now and then. Beyond that, I mean, I would prefer to make it an ordinance. That way, if we simply direct the city clerk, it will become more ritualistic than, a matter of law. It will get buried in meeting minutes somewhere, and someday somebody will ask, why do we do it this way? If you put it in an ordinance, it can be looked up. It's that simple. That's my preference.
Anybody else?
I'm in favor of an ordinance change myself.
All right.
I don't really care either way. I mean, you can vote last or not vote at all. It really doesn't matter. I mean, unless you, like you said, a tiebreaker. But
It's
I'm with Mike on that. I mean, I don't, we're all adults. I mean, I get what you're saying, Stefan, about being buried in minutes, but I think our new clerk's done a pretty good job of keeping track of the minutes here recently, so I don't know. I mean, doesn't matter to me either way.
All right, well,
Well, we're going to leave it, I mean, it is up to you guys. You are the council, so it is up to you guys how you want to approach this. Whether you want it to be an ordinance or whether you want it to be just a instruct the clerk. I think there's a plus on both. So it's kind of up to you guys.
I'll make a motion to direct the city attorney to draft ordinance language so that the mayor votes last.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Need your vote.
Councilman Munger,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson,
No.
Councilman Franke,
Yes.
Mayor Lauderman,
Yes.
Councilman Phillips,
Yes.
and Councilman Welch.
No.
Looks, motion passes. All right. James, a little bit of work. Shouldn't be too,
What's that?
a little bit of work for you, but it shouldn't be.
I'm glad you decided that, Mayor. It will not be that bad. I can get it done.
All right, James Lemon, City Attorney, Video Service Provider Act.
So, Mayor, several years ago, the state passed what was called the Video Providers Act. It allows video service providers to be on our public right-of-way without the benefit of a franchise. That's been fine. Our cable provider had been on a franchise agreement. Therefore, they continued to pay their franchise fee, the same amount that they had always been paying. There wasn't any particular major reason to change things. However, the law was written so that in August of this year, well, a couple of things happened. In August of this year, the amount that could be paid dropped from 5% to 4.5%. That's going to change over a course of years. That's issue number one. Issue number two is the fact that there are some ongoing lawsuits against Netflix and several other video providers to see if they can't be classified as this type of video service provider. Because of the fact that they did not formally have a franchise, in order for the city to obtain the full benefit of the statute, we're going to need to change our ordinances a little bit. We're going to add some stuff in. That's the purpose of the ordinance that I've got before you tonight. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
I got one. The declining scale on the tax, is that per state law?
That's per state law.
Okay.
It's going to continue to drop, and there are some provisions regarding when we have to give notice. That's why it's the first date is on a weird date, but it's set up thereafter on August because that's the way the statute is set up.
Yeah, when I was reading that, it's like, this doesn't make any sense.
Why on earth did
Yeah.
it do that? Because
Yeah.
the statute says
Okay.
we have to. So
Any other questions? Comments?
it'll be bill number 23-036 to follow.
Darren Gordon, General Manager, Board of Public Works, Stormwater Funding Ballot Initiative.
Mayor and members of council, I have my voice. It's
Back
all
at full
good.
strength.
We were here the last council meeting. We have presented to you a resolution that would put on the ballot in the April 24 election a funding mechanism. That funding mechanism is based on a flat rate. It's based on the amount of what the meter, your electric meter type is, class, and the amount of usage. Those classes are broken down from residential, commercial, industrial. I would ask you to consider, and I'm also speaking to all the public at this point in time, this is a matter of safety. Safety, safety, safety. People drive our roads, they ride our roads, they walk our roads, they walk our sidewalks. We've already had experiences where those have failed and people have been, luckily not seriously harmed, but harmed. And so with that, we have a stormwater system that has not been maintained. It has not been operated for decades. And so we've got some very, very significant needs. I've brought this to you again, the last council meeting. My question for you is, what questions do you have of me?
So I want to, before we ask questions, I want to remind the council of one simple thing. Before I was elected, you guys tasked this committee to come up with a solution for stormwater. You put them together, they went out, they had meeting after meeting after meeting. They looked at many different proposals, and they came up with a solution they thought would work. Now, like the solution, don't like the solution, our job tonight is pretty simple, and that's to put it on the ballot in April so that the citizens can vote on their proposal as the way democracy is set up to do. If the citizens are for it, they will most certainly vote for it. If not, they'll knock it down again and we're back to square one. But it's solely on the committee to go out and sell this proposal to the citizens of Hannibal. They put it together, they've got all the information, and it's up to them to get out and sell it before April. It's up to us to put it on the April ballot. No more, no less. That's my thought. So if we have questions, let's ask some questions.
While it is quiet and you're thinking of your questions, I would tell you that in the audience, we have 6 members of that Stormwater Action Committee. I'd again invite them to stand. Appreciate their participation and their willingness to be here. And again, it's not popular. If you were to say how many of you are really for this in Wahoo, there's not a single hand that will go up. We're asking people to tax themselves. And that's a big lift.
It is.
But with that, I believe it's something that we know that it must be done. We've got people that have the best interest of this community at heart. And I think that it will prevail, especially with the Stormwater Committee, the people behind it to support it.
I think we owe thanks to that committee. They spent many hours.
They did their job. This is how it's supposed to work. Is you invest citizens to go out, find a solution, bring it before the council. Council puts it on the ballot. People get to vote. That's how it works. It's broken down. It's just that simple. So I will make a motion that we put this on the ballot. First reading.
First
I'm sorry.
reading, done.
Never mind. It's a bill. So get to it. I'm new to this.
You're doing fine.
So, that being said,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren.
so I need a motion to have the city clerk read the ordinance and set it for a first reading to get this on the ballot.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Aye.
Councilman Munger.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
Councilman Franke.
Aye.
Mayor Lauderman.
Yes.
Councilman Phillips.
Yes.
Councilman Welch.
Yes.
Bill number 23-034, an ordinance of the City of Hannibal calling for a municipal election to be held Tuesday, April the 2nd, 2024, to allow the Hannibal voters to consider the implementation of a fee for the purpose of maintaining and improving the city's underground stormwater conveyance system. Proposition S, first reading.
All right. Then we have bill number 23-035. I need a motion to have the clerk read this for second and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 23-035, an ordinance of the City of Hannibal authorizing the mayor to execute a program agreement with the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission for the Transportation Alternative Program, TAP, Grand relative to construction of new sidewalks and ADA improvements on Market Street from South Arch to Grand. Second and final reading. Councilman Munger.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
Councilman Franke.
Yes.
Mayor Lauderman.
Yes.
Councilman Phillips.
Yes.
And Councilman Welch.
Yes.
I declare Bill number 23-035 duly approved and adopted on this day. Then we have Bill 23-036. I need a motion to have the clerk read this.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 23-036, an ordinance amending Charter 15 licenses, taxation, and miscellaneous business regulations by creating a new article regarding video service providers. First reading.
Then we have resolution number 2490-23. I need a motion to have the clerk read this resolution. Call the roll for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Resolution number 2490-23, a resolution of the City of Hannibal authorizing the mayor to execute first renewal option of the lease agreement between the city and American Cruise Lines Incorporated for the use of the North Dock for riverboat landings on the Hannibal Riverfront. Agreement. Councilman Munger.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
Councilman Franke.
Yes.
Mayor Lauderman.
Yes.
Councilman Phillips.
Yes.
And Councilman Welch.
I declare this resolution number 2490-23 duly approved and adopted on this day. Then we have resolution 2491-23. I need a motion to have the clerk read this resolution and call the roll for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Resolution 2491-23, a resolution authorizing the mayor, city manager, or city clerk to apply for a grant for the treatment of water at the City of Hannibal landfill ledge basin, including authority to sign applications, contracts, authorizations, and other documentation which is required or reasonably related to the grant application process. Councilman Munger.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
Councilman Franke. Mayor Lauderman.
Yes.
Councilman Phillips.
Yes.
And Councilman Welch.
Yes.
I declare resolution number 2491-23 duly approved and adopted on this day.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.